To the podcast. My name is Dean. We are here with two of my friends, James Sharman, Footy Prime, and of course Jeff Nesker from Waking the Red and Toronto Till I Die. We're in Lisbon. We're in Lisbon today. Special thanks to our partners at Ed's Fine Imports, Gitch. Promo code GITCH3. Go to edsfineimports.com. We got to get the sponsors in. It's kind of the thing. Got to get the sponsors in. I love sponsors. Legitimizes the process. Pays for this stuff, actually. So thanks to our friend at Ed's Fine Imports, Gitch, of course, Cantork, our friend Colin Livingston. Go to cantork.com for more information. Anyway, we're here. We've been here for like 4 or 5 days. We've been doing everything from visiting our friends at Benfica, our clients, and we've been visiting the city. We've been testing out different restaurants. We've just been enjoying the sights and the sounds. But I wanted to talk to you guys about a couple of things because we've one of the narratives that's been built over the past like 4 or 5 days since we've been here is how different life is over here in Portugal. Like it is, we're in Lisbon, obviously, Lisbon, Portugal, beautiful town, beautiful city. It's on the coast. It's obviously shares a landmass with Spain. Every country has its own things and its own people and its own stereotypes. But it's almost like none of the stereotypes and none of the anger and none of the bullshit, for lack of a better word, culturally exists over here like we've experienced in Canada. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's in fairness, right? So we arrive in a new city,
Yeah.
right, for under a week, and we see the good side of it, the great side of it. We're having a fantastic time,
Yeah.
doing work, but really enjoying ourselves too, right?
Yeah.
So we've got to, I think, realize that it's different to living somewhere, right?
Yeah.
But from what I've seen, right, when I travel, I try not to do too much research about where I'm going because I don't want any preconceptions.
Yeah.
And I don't know, after a week, what are my thoughts on Lisbon? Laid back, lovely people, smiles on their faces, beautiful people, amazing food, incredible weather, just a nice lifestyle. No bullshit,
Yeah.
right? No one's up their own arse.
It's
which
a
we
wonderful
seem
way to say
get
it.
a
No
lot
one's
at
up
home
their
these
own
days.
arse.
You know what I mean? Maybe that's just one-eyed because we're, you know, it's only been a week.
Yeah.
And we spoke to Ricardo, a true Lisbonite. Is that what you
Yeah.
call them? Lisbonites?
I don't think so. I think it's way more complicated than that.
I think they call them
I think
Lisboners.
there's Lisbopudlian. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Lisbonian?
Lisbonian. I'm sure there's a couple Q's in there. I think it's Lisbakistra.
Oh, maybe, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
Lisbakistas.
Yeah.
Right, and he, you know, he mentioned some things which aren't, you know, always so great, right, about
Yeah.
living here. But overall, he's smiling, he's loving it. He goes, yeah, you're right, though. It's a pretty cool place to live.
Yeah. Yeah, but like a different vibe. But we've been trapped in Toronto for like 3 years, right? Trapped in like a mega city for 3 years. Trapped in Canada for the last, you know, for me for the last 48 years. Trapped in Canada, but you feel this vibe, right? You feel the difference in the vibe.
I'm all about vibes, man, and you feel it right when you get out. Right
Yeah.
when you get out. I mean, instantaneous nicotine fit because everybody smokes cigarettes like they're in a 1960s art film, and it's difficult to ignore how cool that looks.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's been eye-opening, right? Ricardo last night was lamenting how salaries here on average are lower than anywhere else in Europe. And
Yeah.
you hear something like that, and you think, why am I not seeing more arrogant, you know, British pensioners everywhere? Why am I not seeing exchange students? You know, you go to Whistler or Banff,
Yeah.
and it's all Australian and New Zealand kids, you know, getting STIs, working at cafes.
It's almost
right?
a rite of passage.
It is. It's almost a rite of passage.
Yeah.
But it could be down to the fact that this is a city, and there's pockets of that, but we haven't seen it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure there's enclaves of like arrogant Italians, arrogant
The
continental.
Algarve, I think, is where the Brits
yeah.
kind of descend upon, right? So it could be a bit different there.
Yeah, because
maybe.
they don't want their high streets anymore. They want their beachfront properties and
Yeah.
quick and dirty living. So, yeah, I mean, Lisbon is vibes. It's just it's very Mediterranean, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, it's beautiful. The history is just something.
Well, there's history.
Well, there's just something you don't get in North America. Every building is hundreds of years old, right?
Yeah.
And that you don't see. And we were lucky, you know, when we arrived, it was what is it called? World Youth Day?
World Youth Day, yeah.
Yeah. So
Catholic Day Camp.
Catholic Catholic band camp in the American Pie sense of the word.
I'll tell you, a ton of unplanned pregnancies. Put it that much. I'll tell you that, because once it's
God
funny,
has a plan, and those pregnancies were all planned.
once the lights go down,
Yeah.
those Catholics start enjoying themselves. Off go the T-shirts.
Yeah.
And away go the crucifixes.
Yeah,
And they're
yeah.
partying.
Out comes the
they
coke,
keep
out
some of
comes the Mac.
crucifixes for naughty shenanigans.
Well, there's that Exorcist style.
But yeah, the vibe, like you said, it's just so laid back.
Yeah.
You know, and then the consequence, right, is, hot climates usually don't work on North American time. You know, that whole hurry up does not exist here.
And you know what? It's listen. We just came out of obviously the rest of the world did the pandemic, and I don't want to talk about it. There's no talk of that. There is no discussion of that here. And keep in mind, I haven't I'm not on subreddits about how's the Portuguese fucking vaccine community, who's anti, who's this, who's that. But it's not even a topic. And when you talk to people here, you talk to locals here, and I'm like, what is the division issue here? Because in North America, they're very aware of the division issue, right? They're very aware that you've got culture wars between extreme pulls of idiots that never read, live in trailer parks, or think they got it made, or the religious right or the religious left. And this is an incredibly religious country, right? And they do not have the same war brewing.
I think it's important to note that it's an incredibly religious country where 80% of the population is the same denomination of faith.
Yes.
So that certainly helps.
Yeah, Catholic.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But I mean, a thing that I was thinking about yesterday is, and this came out when you got such sass for calling Benfica a franchise, right?
Oh, did the Benfiquistas ever get angry?
They got angry.
They were angry, my friend.
But think about it. In North America, if you had any business entity that was entirely run by democracy, nothing would ever get done. If you had to go through board meetings about signing players or transferring players, nothing would ever get done. I'm impressed that Benfica is still fielding a team with all of these people with different ideas able to come to some kind of equality.
Football's the one great unifying element, right, of this culture, right?
Yeah.
And as Ricardo told us, it's football, it's music,
Fado,
yeah.
and Fatima.
And then it's Fatima religion.
I
right?
thought the third one was going to be fucking. I was sure.
I was
third one was
hoping.
going to be fucking.
I mean, I
Football,
thought at least family.
Family.
I went straight to
there-
fucking.
You skip the family, straight to fucking, which is fair enough too.
When someone says to you, it's all about the 3 F's, you're immediately like, which one of them?
Well,
is
family and
Yeah.
fucking are in there for sure.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
you would
I
think,
don't know
yeah.
about family. Fuck family. Fucking.
Well, that's
Yeah,
the best part about the 3 F's that this country is predicated on. Ricardo, a friend of yours who joined us at Obarbas.
I'm always
Yeah.
going to call it Beard's Beer Bar.
Beard's Beer Bar. The Benfica superfan hasn't missed a game in 60 years. We went there last night, caught up with Ricardo, and he's like, Portugal is based on 3 things. It's based on Fado, football. Football is number 1. Fado was number 2, and Fatima, or religion, Catholicism, was number 3. And you pointed out last night, he goes, family on there? And he goes, no. The divorce rate here is 94%.
94%.
Wow.
Explain that one to me.
I think we've
It's
seen
factual.
why. We've
Oh,
seen
dude,
why.
yeah,
You
yeah,
walk down
yeah.
the street and you're like, why
You
did I
can't.
ever get married?
Yeah.
Is that why everyone's so happy? Is that why?
Yeah.
Maybe it is.
That's why everybody's here. Dude, everyone here's happy. Everybody stays out of their shit. And you know where we come from? You hear that your neighbor gets divorced, and you're like, ooh, you're part of the 50%. That number is 94%.
So
Spain,
you are getting
same
divorced.
landmass, is 88%. 88%.
So when
and then
you
you
spend
move
all
over.
that money on that wedding day here,
Yeah.
right, and you put the ring on the finger, and you ask the parents' permission,
Lost-
which they probably do here, it's so traditional.
Terrible
You know
ROI.
that at some point there's going to be a conversation where I fucking hate you, and I cannot live with you anymore. You know it's coming. It's 94%.
It's 94%.
Right? It's going to happen.
Yeah. Here it is. And we were talking to Ricardo about it. I'm like, why is it 94%? He goes, have you seen the women?
I'm going to play devil's advocate. I think it's
Probably.
94% because what we've noticed here is Portugal since 74 has come screaming into the modern age.
Yeah.
Right? And the modern age is wonderful. We've got iPhones and laptops
Yeah.
and hoverboards and jetpacks. We were promised them, but we don't have them. But we've also got all that temptation, right? So you're talking. I found this in Spain because Spain, for a long time, under Franco, they rolled back all the women's rights.
Yeah.
So certain generations of Spaniards, their parents, mom never went outside, and now they're meeting up with this newer generation that have enjoyed proper westernized freedoms, and it's a huge cultural clash.
Yeah.
So you have to think that like Portugal running screaming into whatever the hell the 21st century is, it's good and bad, and it's destroyed that sort of monogamy and that, you know, stay together for the kids and all those other trappings of you know, the bad part of marriage have just gone into the ether, right? That's the only way to explain a 94% divorce rate.
Or being strong Catholics too, right? You're expected to get married too, you know. Traditionally speaking, you know, you consummate on the night of the wedding, right? And you don't move in until, so you're marrying pretty damn quickly. Right? To accommodate the family and the parents.
And your hormones.
And your hormones, right? So shit, let's get married now, young. I bet they get married young here as well.
Yeah, they do. They get married very young. That's Ricardo. He's like usually by about 35. He's like, you've been married once. You've been married twice.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that get married the first time, he says over in Portugal, don't get married the second time. They just move in. You know, and I said to him, well, what's the deal? Because every Portuguese woman here is beautiful, and they're usually with guys that look like me. And I'm like, that's not a good idea. He goes, yeah, most of the men actually leave. Like he's like, a lot of the men leave because salaries here are so small. A real salary problem here. So that's why people are still leaving, going abroad. And the way that the culture works here, I think the third F, Fatima, religion is like, you know, a woman's place over here is to support her husband and blah, 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 blah. And which would not go over well where we're from.
It's a chauvinist culture because it's a young culture, I think.
Sure
probably.
it is. Yeah.
And it's young. It's younger than the country is. Like I said, like this country has gone through profound social change since the 70s.
Yeah.
But you look further back in history, the Iberian Peninsula was, you know, was a Muslim empire, the Moorish Empire, right? And then the Reconquista and all of that stuff. So this has been a land constantly in flux.
But the rebirth came in '74, like you said.
The modern
right? And old Portugal.
rebirth,
but a lot of Portuguese people, most of them think, no, it kind of began in '74 when that dictatorship was out of power.
Yeah.
You know, and we became very liberal at that point. And it is a liberal, I do find it a very liberal country.
Oh, incredibly!
In many ways,
very much so. I think they, you know, again, this information that we get here, it's like I think because they lived under Salazar, which was a dictatorship, a real fascist sort of religious dictatorship, for a long period of time. It is called in North America, the left has been running this country since 1974, right? And it is, and I mean, they had 50 years to deal with that, right? We're seeing the rise of that in North America. We're seeing the rise of that right-wing populist bullshit. And these people went through it 40, 50 years ago, right? And they've had 50 years to kind of clean their clock and go, wait a second, we're not doing it. And so that's kind of why you don't see the same uprising in Canada. But the one thing, and James and I were talking about this the other day, the one thing that has, and I'll be honest, I'll be 100% honest, and as someone who lives in Canada, as an immigrant to Canada, I came over when I was like 1. James, you're an immigrant to Canada. You came over in your teens. We're both from England. We know Canada to be home. We know this perceptive sense of pride that everybody wants to drill into you on Canada Day. Yay, Canada, we're the freest nation in the world. We're this, we're that. When you come to a place like this, I'll be honest, I resent Canada. My resentment for living in Canada, for the way that we get in each other's shit all the fucking time, and how we treat each other, and the things we yell at each other about that mean absolutely fucking nothing. Like absolutely nothing. When you come here, you see people living their lives, enjoying each other's company. You see the LGBT community literally operating as whole members of society, and no one gets in their shit over here. There's this deep acceptance, maybe because of the suffering that they went through. There's this deep acceptance of other people's way of lives, and not getting in their shit. Yeah. And it's like, and I think that that's one of the things. I mean, regulations in Canada are another thing. You know, obviously there aren't a lot of regulations when it comes to a couple of industries. In Portugal, you're seeing the freedom of the people that operate here. You're seeing people enjoy each other's company, regardless of gender, regardless of color. And I know that there is a very deep history of that here as well.
Big history when you think of Portugal's colonial possessions. And as they started falling apart, what waves of immigrants were happening. Ricardo was talking about it often, but Portugal is not an anti-racist country in terms of in terms of the soul of the country.
Every nation's got its dark past.
Every nation's
right?
got its
especially in
dark
Europe,
past.
right? So, you can't
Yeah.
avoid that, right?
Yeah.
Canada's
Can't
so
avoid it.
young. What's our dark past? Well, we're beginning to kind of hear about that more and more now, finally, thankfully, right? But we're such a young country, we're trying to convince ourselves, look at us, we're Canadian, go
Yeah.
Canada. And I think half of it's bullshit.
Do you feel that? Do you
Trying
feel
too
the same
hard.
thing? Like,
Trying too hard. There's a lot of bad things that happened in Canada's past as well, which we kind of pushed aside for so long.
Yeah,
But I think you need to acknowledge it to know who you are as a people.
It's tough when you define yourself by what you're not, and that's Canada's biggest issue, is that we define ourselves by how we differ from our neighbor down south.
Is that why? Because we've got this mega power literally beside us.
when you immigrate to the States, it's a melting pot. You're expected to abandon your culture and be an American. In Canada, we do the opposite. There's pluses and minuses to both schemes, right? And there's a bit of a power vacuum going on in Canada right now, and I think it's a consequence of all of us living in our own houses for 2.5, 3 years. We're all giant assholes, and that we're exhausted. As Torontonians, we've talked about it enough. We're exhausted by that. We're exhausted seeing how it's manifesting socially. We don't see it here, but maybe it's just too hot.
Yeah, I really think
maybe
it was like 40 degrees all
yeah,
week.
it was 16.
Yeah.
Maybe
How you got
everybody
the
was
energy to do it? Karen's at home in front of air conditioner, right?
Yeah,
Not outside
yeah.
causing shit.
Yeah.
It's just too hot, right?
Have you seen a single person wearing a COVID mask anywhere?
Never. No. Nowhere.
I saw a couple in the airport when we got off, but I'm
Yeah.
not sure if that was native Portuguese or if they were coming from another country. But you still see people wearing masks in stores in Toronto. You still see people wearing masks.
Oh, there's still a
walking
culture of fear
around.
still
Yeah,
lurking in the weeds there. Right?
There's still not. It's not quite evened out.
But I really think we have to not be naive here, right? We've been here for a week. You've been here for longer.
Yeah.
What you see and listen, we're not on vacation, we're working, but we're having a good time. We're enjoying ourselves.
I'm having
we're
a
not
good
facing
time.
the
We have an
realities.
expense account.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah,
we're not
yeah.
facing the realities of
Me?
real life, right?
Am I the expensive
Yeah.
guy?
Deanie Warbucks.
You send Ricardo, our boy,
Yeah.
or our Diego, our driver,
Yeah.
to Canada for a week. He'll come back saying that's the best fucking country in the world. He's experienced it from a certain lens.
Which is fucking odd to me. Like up until I would say the last 2 months, and obviously because we do a bunch of work here with Crier Media, and we've experienced the way of life here a little bit, and it is a little taste to your point. Yeah, and I know a lot of people go to Canada, and everybody here is like, oh, we'd love to go to Canada when they find out you're from Toronto. Oh, we'd love to see that. We have lots of relatives, of course you do. Like there's a massive pocket in Toronto that is legitimately just Portuguese. It's a huge part of our culture and our history,
100%.
and I love that about Toronto. But to an individual, you talk to a Portuguese person about their pride when they live in Canada, and they'll tell you, hey, Canada's great. That's home.
Yeah.
We came here because salaries, because of the geopolitical bullshit in our hometown 50 years ago. We've raised our families here. But their pride is here because they all say the same thing. It's a different way of life. And a friend of mine, I talked to him before I left, and he says, one of the things you're going to really realize when you go there is that the way that we want to tell each other in Canada how to live doesn't exist over there.
Right.
Like, it's not a thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, that was foreign to me because it's all we do on social media. It's all we do when we talk. Like,
I'm right, you're wrong. My
Exactly.
subjective opinion
Yeah.
is truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's dangerous. It's dangerous rhetoric. But I just think people here, it's not to suggest that critical thinking doesn't occur here. If anything, it's to suggest that they've taken critical thinking to its logical nadir, which is your opinion is important to you, my opinion is important to me. But if they don't meet, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
You know?
You're allowed to think
you're allowed to think that way.
Yeah.
And it doesn't impugn me in any way, shape, and form. But I do think this comes down to the fact that 80% is the same religious denomination. If there was a much more widespread, you'd see a lot more culture.
It's also never minus 30 here.
Right.
So,
That's
Yeah.
part of it, right? I mean, listen, you travel to Italy or Spain, continental Europe, France, right?
Yeah.
It is very similar to this in many regards. People are just more laid back, right? And we're so stuck in the rat race in Canada, especially in Toronto, where we're from. You're stuck in the rat race, you're just governed and governed, there's too much government and there's rules and regulations, you can't do this, you can't do this, and you're seen as a criminal because you own a dog or you smoke. It's all these fucking
Didn't pick up your
rules.
dog shit.
Yeah.
You didn't mow your
Yeah.
fucking
And there's
How
always
much
someone
dog,
that'll
how much
rat you
dog
out.
shit have you stepped in? Have you stepped in?
I've stepped in a lot of dog shit.
Yeah.
At least I hope it's dog shit.
So
It
is
doesn't
that
look like dog shit. It looks like dust.
It looks,
yeah, it's completely
it's
desiccated.
dry so much?
Yeah,
Is that the difference between us and Portugal? There's more dog shit in the streets here, and does that make the place better to live in, more inhabitable?
Yeah.
Maybe
I don't know.
Is it a metaphor for
But you're
something?
probably you're touching on something though that I think is the crux of my issue. You know, you can walk down the street. You can walk down the street here in Portugal, back alleys, any rua in the area, and you can see a little old lady in her doorway, and she'll have some cherry porter, cherry whiskey, and for €1 she'll give you a little cup, right?
Where?
If a woman in
I want my
Toronto
ginger,
opened up
my
her
ginger.
fucking
Oh,
front door,
yeah, she'd be in a
ginger's
slammer in
crap.
no time.
If a woman in Toronto opened up her front door and started doing that to subsidize her income, she would be fined by
Where's your license?
every
Yeah.
bylaw officer. Cops would show up, ask for $5,000. You cannot sell
But
this.
where in Toronto? Where in Toronto would you approximate one
Everywhere.
of these
Everywhere.
little cul-de-sacs? Because the foot traffic in Yorkville is like, you would have to think about it like a business. Like if I'm gonna put up my street stand and sell my cherry liqueur,
Yeah.
you'd be like, well, if I go to Yorkville, you know, do I have to charge $5 a cup, or can I go to Kensington where it might be a little bit more crust punk, but I might get more foot traffic? Like those kind of concerns don't exist here.
Where was it those kids in the burbs somewhere in Canada were shut down, their lemonade stand was shut down?
Some
Because
uppity.
they didn't have a business license.
Yeah, some
What
uppity.
the fuck is that about? You know, and it happens over there. It's ridiculous. I'm seeing now, I'm just looking at some Canadian news before we started today. And,
Right over there?
the-
There's Canadian news
Well,
right
yeah,
there.
Oh, he's
over
pointing
there,
at his bedroom.
No, but so the big thing right now in Ontario, in Toronto, is we're allowing you to drink in certain parks.
Allowing us.
It's
I've
a-
only been
it's
doing
a
it my
trial
entire
run.
adult life.
A tester. Like, oh my God, thank you.
Yeah.
We're so liberal.
Yeah.
We're so liberal.
I'm
Thank you,
gonna-
government.
Look at us.
I'm gonna miss hiding it. I'm gonna miss hiding it. I'm gonna miss the different cups that I use to pour beer into.
Yeah.
It's like
More-
weed tasted better when it was illegal.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I disagree. I disagree, but I'll still
I've
never
always
get.
enjoyed it myself.
I'll still never get
But you
over
know what I
going
mean,
into
though?
a store and being like, "Can I buy my marijuana, please? This is fantastic."
You know what I mean, though? That's how ridiculous it's got in Canada. We're treated like children in so many regards.
Yeah.
You come over to Europe, and I don't care where it is, you know, you can walk down the street with a can of beer in your hand.
Yeah.
And sure that there are idiots, there's idiots everywhere, but most people are responsible and get it. It's not a big deal to them. So why not allow that? Little things like that, they're
Yeah.
far freer here.
Well, dude, you think about the parks here. Okay, like you're in Toronto, Ontario, and not all provinces are like that. It's still an open alcohol. You can get a ticket for open alcohol. You can get arrested for drinking in a park. You can, I mean, it's illegal. It is illegal to drink in a park in Canada. They're doing a test run, as you pointed out, in Toronto or Ontario, specifically in Toronto. And here's the fucking rub. When you come to Lisbon, every park has a restaurant and a bar in it, where they encourage you to take your drink and go and enjoy your day. Every bar, specifically along the street that we're staying, which is in the Bixa area or the Bica area. I don't know how you say it.
Bixa.
Bixa.
I don't know.
Bica. Anyway, the beautiful area we're staying. They have, you go in, you can eat, you can drink, and then they have a little to-go counter where you can say, yeah, I would like some ginger, I would like a beer, I
Well,
would
you
like
know
a
you
martini.
pay more
you
to
water.
eat in than
Open
take away.
alcohol is encouraged here. And on Fridays and Saturdays, there are refuse people that this is literally how they do this. There are people, garbage men and women, that their only job is to go just clean up the empties that people leave on the street. And the empties on the street on the weekends, it's almost like there's a Super Bowl here and the entire city does it. And then a day later, and the garbage people work overnight here.
Are you sure they're garbage people and not subcontractors?
They might be.
Taking them to the beer store.
But-
They're the Portuguese version of the beer store for the change back.
Maybe, I don't know, you might be right. But all I know is this, is that this lifestyle over here, as they do it, and then we talk about what is illegal, that lifestyle is illegal in the country we come from. You point out we get treated like children. That's exactly
You
it.
get a ticket for putting the wrong thing in your recycling box, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a paper box.
You get a
That's
ticket.
cardboard.
I mean,
If you put out too much recycling.
I'm loving this. I'm loving this, guys. But let's go back. Let's circle back to weed. There are no dispensaries here, and the stores that exist sell CBD. So they're basically like the head shops in Toronto in 1990.
Draconian.
No, where it's like, well, it's kind of like weed, and you buy oregano and think you're cool at 16 years old, because you know what I mean. So there are things that are more progressive where we're from.
Oh yeah, for sure there are. I honestly, I think it comes down to the weather. People are just happier when it's sunny. You get vitamin D. You're outside more.
I
really think it's that, because
I really do too.
the minute October hits, people's whole disposition changes.
Yeah.
In Canada, I know mine does.
Seasonal depression.
Seasonal depression is
well,
a real thing, right? And just when you get
Yeah.
out of it, it begins to close down again, right? In Canada, I really think that's what it is.
Yeah.
I agree. Every winter, it's like, this is really cold. Yeah, the same as last year. Why is it a surprise?
Oh, dude,
Every summer, it's so hot. Yeah, the same as last year.
Yeah. For the
I
last
like the season.
50 fucking summers.
Since time immemorial.
Like someone says to me, I like the seasons when I slap them. You
Yeah.
like the seasons, do you?
Do you?
You
Really
love the
like
minus 30, do
40?
you? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
You like getting in your car minus 40.
Yeah, I could do with. I'm a winter baby, and I could do without winters for the rest of my life.
Totally.
This is too hot. I would like a couple months of this.
Are you complaining?
I'm not complaining.
Sounds like you're complaining.
Okay, I'm complaining.
Yeah.
Well, 40 degrees is too fucking
Yeah, but you're a
hot.
sweater, dude.
I am a sweater. I sweat tying my shoes. But
It's a massive sweater, right?
Oh,
Like,
I've never seen
it's
men sweat
incredible.
like that. Yeah, and I'm a sweater, and I came here going, I'm going to sweat, and I stand next
I
to
did
Nesker,
not
I'm
come
like,
here
I'm
for
not
a
a sweater.
character assassination. And it's, we've been here for 5 days. You give me a week, and I'll have acclimated, and I won't sweat at all. But I'm also carrying around all your damn gear.
No, you are working. You and our boy Michael over there are working your asses off.
You guys have the privilege of
gear
airing
mule.
out those pits.
Hey, man.
I've got a tripod
We've got to think about
clipped to my
VOs
scrotum. Yeah.
Yeah,
and how to throw.
We're the talent. We had to shave today.
Yeah.
We had to get trimmers. We went to this little shop, and we had to get beard trimmers. And here's a little known fact. I shared my nose trimmer.
You shared your beard trimmer with me too.
I did. Did you
You
give it a little
both
clip?
trim
little
your nose?
bit. Yeah,
Oh, did
a
you
little bit.
really?
Yeah.
You look like a
You
fucking...
shade your nose trimmers?
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
We just wash them. You
Yeah.
just wash them.
No, it's still disgusting.
You wouldn't share
I
a
wouldn't
nose
share.
trimmer?
No, I'd share. We did share a clipper. I wouldn't share a nose trimmer.
Yeah.
No.
I would
Not
share. I would.
We
use your nose
finally
trimmer.
found where his ceiling is.
Yeah.
This far and no further.
You've
You shall
gone too
not
far. You
pass.
fucking
Yeah.
Neanderthals.
I'm pretty sure Neanderthals didn't have nose trimmers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't think they did either. But yeah, it was fun going to get a nose trimmer today. We walked all the way back, and it was you see the people enjoying themselves. What is it Tuesday or is it Tuesday today? Are we Tuesday?
It's Wednesday
Is it
today,
Wednesday?
yeah.
I can't fucking remember what day of the week it is.
Push day.
Is that how they say it in Portuguese? Push day.
Push day.
I
Push
find
day.
traveling if you just speak English but with a really strong accent,
Yeah.
they're cool with that.
Yeah.
They're fine.
Yeah, they're not. They
Good
don't get-
morning.
Good morning.
They love it. They love it.
Yeah, you gotta put a
Thank you for
oish.
trying.
Every-
Yeah.
You got to put a
Yeah.
oish on the end of everything.
Coffee.
It's a really cool language, actually.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's really good.
Yeah. Sometimes it sounds like Russian. It's weird.
It really does.
It really, really does.
Yeah.
Not offending anyone right now, are we?
No.
Well,
We're just making observations. We're
Mm-hmm.
we're just observers. We're foreigners. I want to touch on that too. You guys obviously steeped your jobs, your day jobs, your passions. Footy Prime, massive soccer podcast, one of North America's biggest. James, you're the host of that. You obviously a massive soccer fan too. Jeffrey, with Waking the Red, your brand, Toronto Till I Die, your podcast. A real TFC supporter. Go and sub these podcasts, by the way. I wanted to get your impression. Obviously, you being from England and growing up there, you understand the insane passion for this game. But your impression since being here, James, and we'll go to Jeff, then we'll go to James. What has this done for you, being the soccer fan that you are, in North America, where we give people tickets for lemonade stands? Where we have young franchises because it's a young country. How old is Toronto FC? 17, 20 years? What are we at?
2007.
2007.
Founded 2005, first season 2007.
Okay, so 2007. This is 120. Benfica, our client, our friends going to see the Super Cup game today against Porto. What has this done for you, being in a different country, seeing where football really is a religion, as a fan of your team? Like,
It's been fascinating, Dean. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome, Jeff.
For bringing me along.
Oh, you're
I
welcome.
mean, everybody knows Benfica, like Ajax, is a club that's famous for developing players as opposed to buying players, and famous for pooling from the wide talent of Portuguese athletes, Portuguese citizenry, to come up through the academy and into the first team and eventually be sold on for profit. The attitude about the attitude from the fans about that, because understand, when you sell a player, you're selling somebody that's a big part of your team. It's no longer a part of your team.
Yeah.
So you don't really see any sour grapes about that. I mean, you see some, but I think everybody's on board with this idea that a sustainable business model for a football club, they've sort of found the secret sauce, because they win championships and they still have an active academy system from U11 all the way to U23. So they found a way to have their cake and eat it too, which is, I mean, and it's not just winning championships in the domestic league, it's making damage in the Champions League, which is where you really you measure your yardstick against, you know, the super clubs out of Europe and the oligarchs and all that stuff. So that they're able to be so successful while kind of walking that tightrope is really fascinating. And I knew that coming in, but just seeing it in all its glory has been really, really eye-opening.
Yeah.
I think for me, when comparing it to England, right, another football culture,
Football
right?
mad culture.
Yeah, mad culture, right? In England, you have enormous fan bases who live and die by their team. It's a religion, just like here. It's no different. It's generational support, right? But there's also many millions who don't watch the game and don't care about the game, and maybe they're cricket fans or they're rugby fans, or they just don't watch sports. It seems over here you love football. You're Portuguese, you love football. Everyone has a team, and it's one of the big three, plus the little domestic smaller team.
Yeah.
And I find that really interesting. Everyone, it's not even an option. No, you are a Benfiquista, or you love Porto or Sporting. You know, there's really no other choices.
Or we hate you.
Or we hate you.
Yeah.
Like physically
exactly.
hate,
Physically
and
hate
we
you,
will
right?
hurt you.
It goes
Yeah.
beyond reason.
We're going to see
But-
that tonight.
But
Yeah.
Benfica, you walk into that club, it's a super club in Portugal, the biggest club in the country. 60% of Portuguese people support Benfica, apparently. But you walk in that club and there's a family feel within the club. It doesn't feel like a big club when you're in there
Right.
talking to the staff, right?
Right.
I got this similar feeling at Liverpool when I met people there, and strangely enough at Man City as well,
Really?
which was before the current ownership, but it was growing into this super club. There's this family feel that everyone in there, from the groundskeeper to the person working in the store to the tour guide to the head of partnerships,
Yeah.
they genuinely love that club, and it feels much smaller than it is because it's an enormous brand, global brand, right? But it feels smaller. It's got an intimacy about it.
Yeah.
I don't know how you capture that. I don't know how they do it. Maybe it's just a generation.
It's unbelievable. It's like it's walking the tightest of tight wires, and they do it with panache.
From a business perspective.
From
yeah.
a business perspective, from a footballing perspective,
Community
from a
perspective.
community perspective, from a developmental perspective, from a sponsorship perspective. You know, it's very clear that they don't get into bed with just anybody.
Yeah.
You know, that they have a vetting process, and your values need to align. They don't. You know, we were in the Benfica store, and it had all the trappings of the usual commercial nonsense, like having a birthday party. Here's a pack of 16 Benfica paper caps, right? But you didn't feel the cynicism that you would feel. You didn't feel the cash grab.
Like walking to Real
that you would
Sports?
feel, yeah.
Yeah,
You know?
you get a jersey for $400, and you're
Yeah.
like, "Hey, how much is that keychain?
Yeah.
$80."
Yeah.
No, everything was reasonably priced for people that
was.
love the
Yeah,
team.
yeah. Well, just don't do the calculations of what euros are in Canadian bills. And you'll
Yeah,
be
no,
fine.
our accountant did that because we loaded up. So they called
Yeah,
me.
did
He's
their-
like,
did
"Hey,
their
did you buy
head
the whole
explode?"
fucking store?" No,
Thanks
that-
for the T-shirt, by the way. Yeah, it's fascinating,
Yeah.
but you know, they deserve it.
Well,
They deserve it.
Well, they do, because they keep, and you know, it's the connection they have to their fans, connection to their history, the fact that they archive and they've got a museum underneath the stands. It's actually a bigger museum than the Museum of Portugal. Like it is, they take care of their history. We've seen that. But what are your takeaways? Because this is kind of the James, you touched on it, how it's such a world famous, almost religious brand, Benfica. And when you are working with this group, when you're in their offices, when you're hanging around with the people, the key holders, like we met the second in command, Rui Costa, nicest guy in the world, big smile on his face, great to meet you. Yes, Clancy World, yes, Crier Media, great to meet you guys. It's this family feel, and if you're and if you're part of these families here, you motor right past. They don't have this like overly professional, cantankerous approval process to go
Labyrinthine
through. It's like,
bureaucracy
come on in.
nonsense,
Can we
yeah.
take you for lunch?
Yeah.
Would you like some muffins?
Yeah,
Would you?
the archive girls.
Yeah,
How
Rita.
lovely were they? Rita,
Oh.
incredible. Like we spent an hour with her.
Yeah.
I felt like she's my sister.
And she took us in a room, and just to give everybody some context,
I think calling it a room is
a hermetically sealed archive lab.
Yeah, yes.
Where all of the most important parts of the history is they're trying to reconcile history, because it's an ongoing process. There's pictures, they don't know who's in them. They're like 100-year-old shots and newspapers that are coming in from 110 years ago. And Rita took us into this room that is hermetically sealed. She puts on her gloves. She allows her cameras in there. And I am petrified. Like, I don't want to touch anything, because it's like, it's one of those things where you see cameras that go into rooms that no one's allowed to go into. You'll watch it just to see what's in that room when you're watching TLC or another TV show. And we literally did that.
Oh, it was great.
And we weren't supposed to be in there, but they wanted to show it to us because they were so proud of it, and we're part of their family.
Yeah, great.
Right?
I was
Corporate
very surprised
Canada,
that
corporate
we-
North
that they were
America,
showing
that
you
doesn't
that
happen.
stuff.
Yeah.
Were you really?
Well, it does if you book in advance and you go through all the hoops and you make sure that your lowercase i's are crossed and your J's are dotted, right? This was a lot more off the cuff.
Yeah.
This was a lot more spontaneous.
Yeah.
And that spontaneity comes from the swagger. Benfica has swagger, and they deserve it. You compare it to TFC. TFC, like Canada, still has this inferiority complex.
Yeah.
Was it fun for you guys? Did you feel the soccer? Was it good enough? Please tell us you'll come back. And nobody, that swagger is 70% of the equation.
Yeah.
Right? Just not giving a fuck.
Yeah.
Well, they
And
believe in themselves, don't they? They truly believe in
we had
themselves.
this conversation about the Premier League, right? You can tell in Canada when someone says, "Oh, I support Chelsea." Okay, you got into football between 2000. You know what I mean? Like I support Man United. All right, late 90s is when you first started watching, because that's when those teams were world beaters and dominated. You don't get the sense with Benfiquistas that it's about certain teams. It's about the club.
Just the club.
It's about the club. The players obviously matter, but it's the club, so they can have off years. It's obviously not the best, no one likes it, but it'll survive in a way that, for example, the tire fire that is Toronto FC right now is having the existential crisis of existential crises, right? It doesn't have the swagger, and that swagger can take you over the line.
You can survive.
You can survive
Yeah.
a few gut punches.
That's a great point, because I think in Toronto, as much as there's an established football culture now, I think, within a small group, there's probably still a little bit of you that thinks this could all still go away.
Yeah.
It's possible. This here will never go away.
Yeah.
Benfica is here forever.
Forever.
Right, and as long as there's humans on this earth, and even maybe after, Benfica will remain. And that must be a great place of comfort, I think, for fans.
I feel it. I felt it right away. You feel it. It influences everything they do. That's swagger, and I don't think there's a better word to
Well,
it.
is that a
it's-
big? Sorry, go ahead.
I was saying it survived terrible times, right? In this
It was
country,
their release.
survived wars.
Yeah.
It survived the dictatorship, and it remained the one stoic emblem, perhaps,
Yeah.
of many
Yeah.
people. Whereas in Canada, and this is not criticizing Canada or TFC, for example, or Vancouver or Montreal.
No.
We're just not old enough. We haven't
Yeah.
been through this yet.
We're just
right?
not
That's
old
no
enough.
one's fault. You've got to build this slowly. It's going to take time. I mentioned to you yesterday how what's great about TFC now is
I'm
that
so
you're
glad
seeing
you
the
brought
second
this up,
generation
yeah.
of fans.
Yeah.
The guys that bought the tickets in 2007, and they were young men and women who are just there for the party. They've got married. They've had kids. Their kids now being born into this fandom. That's how you establish the identity, and how you become a Benfica.
Yeah.
So 100 years from now, hey, listen. Hopefully, TFC's like a Benfica.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
And you can't. And the shitty part of that is that you can't control that narrative. The kids can come. 50% of them are like, "This is bullshit. I want to be a ballet dancer instead." Let them go. But it's tightening the grip of gatekeeping. Like I said yesterday, everybody starts out as a casual plastic fan.
Yeah.
Everybody goes to their first soccer match. And whether they then become beard or not beard, that's a personal journey, and no one should really impugn on that, right? So we need to relax on that regard, and we need to relax on this idea of trying to plan your own future. Benfica never did, and that should be the gold standard. Just vibe.
You also have way more options though in Canada.
Yeah.
There's so many
More
sports, major league
competing
sports.
for your entertainment dollar, yeah.
Whereas here, really, it's just football. We spoke to the same people saying, yeah, you know, handball's pretty big, basketball people like, but it's all tiny compared to football. There's no competition, right?
Yeah.
You can't really discover football when you're 10 in Portugal. No, you discover it the second you're born.
Your first breath.
Yeah.
Your first breath.
It's
is
normal.
football.
That's
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah,
life.
you're
Football
born
is
with
life,
the-
as a wise
Yeah.
man once said in Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
Football is life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're born into the privilege of football in this country. Like in the United States, you're born into the right to own a gun. Like
It's not a bad.
in the
That's not a
amendment.
bad comparison.
No, I'm serious.
It's genetic.
Yeah.
It's forget nature nurture. It is. It just is.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And that kind of zeitgeist is not something that you can design.
Well, it's not
It's
something
just
we,
something
we
that
understand.
happens.
Like maybe with the Maple Leafs managers, you might kind of have that.
I think the
passion
Leafs
to-
are the closest.
That's the closest. Yeah.
In
closest.
Quebec, maybe the Montreal Canadiens as well.
Easily.
Yeah.
Definitely
It's cultural
around
fabric.
hockey.
Yeah.
Definitely around hockey, it's the closest, but I don't think, because you won't find someone here unless they're being hipster or arch,
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, football sucks." But there's an entire cottage industry of people that are like, hockey people are losers, and I'll never be one of those people. Like
Yeah.
that dichotomy just
But
doesn't.
yeah, there's
exist.
San Jose Sharks
Yeah.
fans in Toronto as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Those
How
guys
how
are
does that even
idiots.
happen? I don't
Yeah,
know.
they're idiots.
You're not going
That's
to get.
right.
I don't
They
think
like
too many.
turquoise.
You got not too many natural-born Lisbonites
Yeah.
who are Boavista fans.
Yeah. Sure
Yeah.
enough.
Right. They're
Unless they
they're
live like
Sporting
next
or
to
they're
the
Benfica.
stadium.
Yeah.
That's how it works. You live
Or
close
they
to the
moved to
stadium.
Boavista for work.
That's
and,
fine.
And their
Yeah.
kid
Yeah.
was born there, and
Gotta
then suddenly
go.
they're Boavista fans.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to wrap up, but I do want to say before we go, we really did leave it all here. We in
Literally.
one of us
Literally.
more than the others. Just want to recap this story, Jeff Nesker.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, we have to.
Is
We
this
have to
the
talk
highlight
about
of the
it.
trip?
Probably the highlight of the
Is
trip.
this story or
Yeah.
is the Eagles for me?
Yeah, interviewing Vittoria, Glory, and Luz.
Yeah,
the
that was
Eagles.
high up there. But looking back,
Watching
it
him
might
eat
well
shit might have been one of the
Let me
greatest.
tell you the highlight of my trip is
Yeah,
when
eating
it's
shit.
when Dean decided rightly to not talk about this on the podcast. That was my favorite part of the whole trip.
Okay, so full day of filming 2 days ago. We're at Estadio da Luz, the cathedral, the Benfica Stadium. Filmed all day. Poor Jeff hadn't eaten, and
40 degrees.
Poor Jeff, 40 degrees.
40 degrees.
You crush 4 massive
Sagres
pints. You
15
stand
minutes.
up, do like a whoa. We start walking towards the Uber. Go ahead and pick it up from there.
Why do I have to tell my own story?
Do it.
And then a parade of angels came, and they blessed me with 3 wishes. And my first wish was, fuck these guys. Now, I zigged when I should have zagged. I'm an idiot. It was a rookie mistake.
You
There's a
stepped off a
drop-off.
2-foot ledge that you didn't realize was there, and you hit the dirt, and it was loud.
It was a
thwack. Thud.
It was a thwack.
And the injury was fast. It was quick. We had the elbow. Show him the elbow. Yeah, we dressed that. You're good. And then the knee was all skinned.
We're all so concerned.
And
Weren't we?
Yeah, so concerned that they rushed me into an Uber, and I tried not to bleed out on the way back to the hotel.
I looked at Jeff. I looked at James, and I'm like, okay, the Uber's here though, so let's get going. Let's get moving.
My favorite part is the Uber had to climb the
First.
the lift again. It was higher up. They're like, "Can you make the 2 steps?" I go, "I just fucking didn't." And you were gonna try this again?
Well, that's one thing again
Yeah.
compared to Canada. Right? If that's a Canadian Uber driver, there's no way he allows this bleeding wreck
No
of a man
way.
into his car. There's
No
no chance.
way.
Whereas this guy's like, it ain't no thing.
I'm holding my elbow up, like trying not to drip on his upholstery.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I
And the
keep
guy's looking at you going, don't worry about
and
it.
no
It's all
thing,
good.
no problem. I'm like, cool.
I said to him before we got in, he goes, is he okay? I go, he's bleeding. And he went like this with his face. Nah. Portugal.
My first, so I missed the fall. I'm so upset about this.
How did you miss the
I
fall?
heard it, and then I turned around and just see you, laying in your back.
And he
is
couldn't get
even
up for a
conscious?
second.
I thought, is his leg bent at a weird angle? But no, it wasn't. It was just bleeding profusely at the time.
What if I
it was
died?
quite a scene. we would have been fucked. It's a two-camera shoot. This is.
We would have needed another Uber. There's no way we're getting you in that car.
What are you talking about? When you just fold the third seat down and stretch
You'd
me
be
out?
rigid.
No, we'd have to-
Rigor mortis
set
would
in.
not have
break the
set in
joints.
that quickly.
Well,
You
you
snap
can't.
the joints.
Of course it would. Yeah, you'd snap a joint like when you bury a cat.
Yeah.
Rigor mortis. It's 40 degrees
you
outside,
buried many
and my
cats?
blood
I
was
buried a couple. Yeah.
my blood was
Didn't
almost
make it all the way to the
entirely
hole, so you had to
stagnant.
snap the-
So I don't think rigor would have set in. You would have had a good 20.
Dude, the police would have had to show up. They'd do the chalk circle. They'd have to do a whole report. By that time, you fucking stiff as a board.
That's great fucking content.
On the bright side, though, we know Ricardo in TV would know a camera guy. We could have easily freelanced
Yeah.
to replace Jeff.
Yeah.
But you didn't die, so that's good.
Yeah, and by the way, salaries here are different, so good thing you made it through that. 'Cause
Yeah,
we
yeah,
could have
yeah.
got a much cheaper version of you.
There is no replacing me.
No.
Zhao.
isn't.
Zhao
Yeah.
Neska.
Zhao Pneshka.
Neshkash.
Um,
Nishkash.
Neshkish.
Now, that is a good footballer.
Glad you're okay.
Are you?
Yeah.
Because I'm detecting a certain level of facetiousness.
I am. I'm totally glad you're okay.
Yeah, I'm glad too,
And
buddy.
the only reason why I was the guy that helped dress your wounds is because it's not because I'm nice. It's because I'm like, holy fuck, we can't afford. We've only got 2 camera guys.
He's
and we
trying.
need editors.
He's
We
trying
gotta
to
get-
big time all of you in front of his friends, but he cared.
I did.
There was some care.
I
In,
did.
in the
Absolutely.
dressing.
I was.
Yeah.
a little
Don't
bit
big time
disappointed.
me in front of all your friends.
I was
Yeah, you were
disappointed.
You know what's funny is that I didn't know how hurt you were, so I was just being super nice. And fucking Sharp
This
was
guy-
all over you.
Yeah,
He
he's
goes,
like-
you need to go directly to the hospital.
Yeah, he's like
right
when
now."
you wake up tomorrow, and
It's really gonna hurt.
you peel yourself off the
And you
sheets.
stuck to the sheets
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
It's gonna be awful. Looks like it's a little bit inflamed. Could
Yeah.
be
Yeah, I was like,
some
thanks, Sharp.
flesh-eating disease in there.
Dude, I can't wait until you injure yourself because
It's gonna happen. It happens
It's
all the time.
coming.
Yeah,
Karma
yeah.
is a bitch.
It's usually
James
internal
Sharman.
though with me. It's not like external.
That's
you know?
cool.
I'll pull a muscle, I'll tear something,
All right.
rupture something.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
more of a rupturer. You're more of a
Yeah.
fucking scraper.
Yeah.
You're
what
more
I
of a
will
flesh
do,
wound
what
guy.
I will do is I will cook a proper pie to its proper internal temperature of the surface of Venus, and then we'll do the pie in the face trick.
All right, nice. Okay, yeah, 3rd-degree burns, pie in the face,
And he'll
Not-
do what you did to him.
That's gonna
Your
hurt.
face will never be the same
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
Loser.
Okay, we're going to head to the Super Cup game. Porto, Benfica. This is the Cup champion. This is the league champion. This is the first trophy of the year. So we got to get out of here. But a very special thank you to Jeff Nesker from Waking the Red, Toronto Till I Die, sub to his podcast. Great support of Toronto FC. My friend James Sharman, Footy Prime, sub to his podcast. It's the talk of the soccer world around North America. And now, of course, in Lisbon, because he's a big-time famous guy here now. He's
Big-time
Mr.
Charlie.
Famous. Yeah,
Big time Charlie.
And of course, Crier Media. We're here with our friends at Clancy World. We're going to take off. But thank you all. Really appreciate you being here. Have a
Peace.
wonderful day.
What do we do
All
now?
right, that's it.
All right, that's a wrap.
You press stop on the camera.